So Ian Zack joined us and we've been having a conversation with him on his journey on alcohol and smoking addiction. And today we get to the part 2 of it, his journey out of it, how he was able to come out of it. So if you haven't watched part 1, please, this is your cue to pause, go back, watch that, then come back. Now, guys, I've not mentioned this before, but you've been enjoying this content, but you haven't subscribed, you're not liking the video, please do. It will really support the channel, and also get to share. If, for example, this story inspires you, encourages you in any way, or you know somebody who'd benefit from it, don't keep it to yourself. Share the video, like it if you do, and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. I really appreciate it. So we left it off at a fateful day where you got drunk, silly, and couldn't remember a thing the next day. And the next day, you were shocked to see how your face looked like. You can take it from there.
Oh yes. So maybe I can tell you what had happened. I can maybe remind the viewers what had happened for me to find myself here. So this time kwanza, we had just opened school, campus. And you know, of course, when you are from home, it was from the December holidays of 2017. So it is not the January of 2018. So of course, tumetoka nyumbani with what? With money. And then there's something about drugs. I don't know, maybe it was CC peke, but campus students who abuse drugs, there's another habit they develop of ripping off their parents. So that day tumepiga simu nyumbani, sijui tunanunua notes, sijui nini. These funny stories. And me and my friend and I, we decided to head to a bar. Now, interestingly, as we were going, that day kulikuwa na many things za kutuambia turudi. Well, it was a weird walk there. This guy is from Kisii. So as we were going, kuna paka ilipita mbele yetu. Akaniambia, this is a bad sign. But anyway, a lot of things happened actually as we were going. So vile tumefika kwa bar, we drank too much. And then we started coming back. Of course, I don't even know how we were coming back because nilikuwa nimewezwa. We met with someone at the bar, akatunulia pombe, and we were mixing. We used to mix. And of course, cigarettes. So we were mixing cigarettes. We were mixing brands of alcohol, that is beer and vodka. So we were mixing. And because ni ya kununuliwa, you don't mind. So that's how tulikunywa that day. Then fast forward, vile tumeenda, we went. I just remember myself, niliingia tu kwa in a ditch as I was trying to help myself. And even the guy thought by day that I had died. And today, if you actually look at me, I even have a mark from that day, 2018. So that morning, nimeenda, nimefika, nimelala. Now the next morning, that's where we are. So the next morning as I wake up, unajua this routine, cleaning your face. Because I wake up with wet clothes. That was the first thing. Because si walikuwa wameshaboeka na mimi. Walifika tu kwa mimi rusha kwa kitanda. So the next morning I wake up with wet clothes. Nguo ziko na maji from my t-shirt to my trouser, everything. Even my belt, my shoes. Vile tu niliingia kwa ditch nikatoka, but I didn't think much about it. Then now I go to the sink to clean my face. Where I see myself, I'm like a zombie. I'm like a zombie hapo in front of the mirror. When I come back to ask these guys, hawa tu wa hostel, what happened? Huyu jamani, sababu hata si ati yako amelewa. Aliniambia ati hebu ingia hapo kwa hiyo simu yako hapo angalia hizo picha. Niliona nikikwambia hautakubali. So you just go and check what you did last night. So ndio najiangalia huko, sijui nilianguka kwa barabara, sijui many things. Hata wakiniweka chini ndio walimwagia maji, bado alinipiga picha. Then he gave me the whole story. Vile tulikunywa huko, vile I think I even fought. I don't even fight. I've never been a violent person. But that day, at least nilijaribu kupigana huko, nilianguka huko kwa bar. So that morning, nikajita mkutano. I remember the previous December, my brother had invited me to church. And now niko at a place where I'm doing things I never thought I would do. Kuingia in a ditch. And coincidentally, that Sunday, the next day, my sister ameniambia anakuja kunivisit hostel. So now I have scars on my face, which I cannot explain about. I am broke because tumekunywa all the money the previous night. It's a very miserable life. So I made a decision that Sunday, the next day, I will head to church where my brother invited me. And that's how I found myself in church. It's UCKG, Universal Church. So the next day when I went, ilibidi nivae kofia niki as I was going to church because I knew I was attracting attention wherever I was going. I remember there's a lady in town alisimamisha akaniambia, "Oi, pole. Walikufanyia hivi baba?" As a total stranger. I used to attract pity with everyone mwenye tulipitana that day. Then I went to church. After the service, I decided to speak to someone. And I told him exactly why I look, how I look. Na kaniambia he would hold my hand. But that day, that fateful day in January, if I am right, it is 5th of January 2018, I made a vow to God. I said that if I heal my face, because sikuwa naamini naweza rudi vile niko sahi. I said that one day I'll show you beneath the photos because someone took me. If I heal my face with all this swelling and everything, I will never taste alcohol. That was 2018, and it's a vow I keep till today.
Wow.
So that one I did not even tell my brother or anyone. That was something so personal to me. Nilisema that if I heal, not even anything else, sikuwataka anything else. I just wanted healing kwanza. Because I had a fractured nose. Nilikuwa nimevunjika huko. Nilikuwa nimefura. And then I was emaciated. Nilikuwa mtu amekonda kabisa. And that's exactly what happened. My face recovered, I think, in 1 week. If I showed you, if I am to show you my photo on that day and my photo on the next Sunday, only God can do that because I healed also in a super speed. In fact, people in the hostel walikuwa wanajiuliza what have I used.
Wow.
Because I was this way, and in 1 week time, the only thing in Uganda, I think actually ni back because the swelling, ilisha, everything. I even went to the infirmary and they were wondering nimekujia nini because nishapona. So much so that when I went back to church the next Sunday, the people who had seen me the previous Sunday could not believe I'm the same person. So since Mungu ali keep his promise, and I always keep my vow up to date. So cigarettes. See, I quit that day. I quit everything. But cigarettes are a different demon on their own. After 6 months, I relapsed on cigarettes. So nikaanza kuvuta some cigarettes, and unfortunately the hostel which I used to stay in, almost everyone used to smoke cigarettes. So in some way nikajipata nimerudi. Now for cigarettes I had now to do a different tactic, because you see, for alcohol I was so revolted when I was quitting, but now what's the reason for me to leave cigarettes? Hakuna kitu directly nimeona ikinifanyia. So, and I think that's why mtu wa cigarettes inakuwa ngumu kuacha. There's nothing to push you to quit. See, I've seen very many people quitting alcohol, but for cigarettes you need something extra than something happening to you. And mimi, I decided to deal with it in a logical way, because now I'm still in church. Unajua si ati nimequit. But I'm now in church as a smoker, which is the exact place the devil wants you to be. He doesn't mind you going to church. But the devil doesn't mind even if the whole world was going to church. But he doesn't want you to be delivered of that thing. He still wants you to be his slave, but now he's slave while in church.
A slave who goes to church.
Yes, he wants you to be a slave who goes to church. And now this time, he has made it in such a way, you cannot confess to anyone. You know, he has put so much shame, you cannot go and tell someone, by the way, I went back to cigarettes. So I was in that situation. And I remember I came back I relapsed on July 2018. So the whole of July, August, September, October, November, December. Then 2019 imeanza, nilikuwa bado navuta sigara. And what God did to me is that the brother who invited me to church, he was getting married that year. And I was part of his bridal team. So what used to happen is that we used to go for the rehearsals every day. And because he's so spiritual, we couldn't have the wedding meetings and the rehearsals before the service. If you were to do the rehearsals and everything, it was after attending the service. So you see what that made me? It made me now start attending services during the week, and then after, I still don't go home. I'm still left there with him to do the rehearsals. So you find like you've spent the entire evening in church. And you know what that does? It starts to check your cravings. Because sometimes, I think this thing about smoking, it's also about being idle. These things are generally about drugs. Most people start drugs, I believe it's not out of leisure. It's because at some point they had too much time in their hands that they didn't know what to do. Okay?
Interesting.
Yes, they had too much time. Hawakuwa wanajua what to do, and their way out, how to pass that time, what we call leisure, ndio unajipata they started a leisure drink, sindio? And then it built up. They had some cigarettes here and there, sometimes some weed here and there. So you find that it doesn't really start as an addiction. I had given this background. It started as a pastime activity, especially in campus. Assuming you have 3 classes a week, what are you doing? The other time when you're not in class and you are not staying at home, assuming you're in the hostel, you are in class only for 9 hours in that week. What are you doing with the other hours? So you find you are hanging out with your friends who are probably in the years ahead of you, and because they are already used to these things, so you find yourself using them as well. So unapata like the rehearsals zilichangia my program of the day. Luckily, kwa kitu nataka ushike hapa, the church iko na services every single day at different times of the day from asubuhi hadi jioni. So alikuwa atuambia tuende after the 6 p.m. service. So ndio nikuwe town by 6 p.m. from Karen. Nimetoka Rongai au nimetoka Karen kwea sangapi? Around uko 4:30. So from 4:30 your program is not as it used to be. Na naonanga I usually see that ilinichangia sana sababu ulikuwa unapata all classes zilikuwa zinaisha by that time. So from 4:30 you know time ulikuwa unapata time ya kuinteract na wase. But sasa you go for instead of interacting with people, your mind is set after class. Unakimbia wapi? Unakimbia church for the rehearsal ya wedding. But sasa ukifika the rehearsal ya wedding, kwanza una attend the service. Service itaisha huko 7:30. Alafu muingie sasa mkutano ya committee ya harusi. Mkishaingia mkutano, hiyo ni from 7:30 to around 8:30. Then muingie rehearsals, because those are two different things. Line up na committee, na ameniweka kwa zote. So unapata from 4:30 all the way to 9 you are somewhere else. And then now from 9 ni kuanza kurudi wapi? Shule. So nitafika kwangu saa ngapi? Around 9:30, 10. Basically someone has taken around 6 hours of what he used to think was free time. And because he married the end of January, it means the entire January, that was my routine. So I knew the only time I could smoke cigarettes was maybe asubuhi. You get me? And then this is something interesting. That time, nilianza kuona ni kama preaching ziko tailor-made for me. Not that even the pastor me anijui, and no one knows what I'm struggling, because si sigara navutia kwako. Na mimi nitaoga vizuri, nitajipiga spray, niende church. It's a struggle which only I knew about. So but zile vitu zenye nasikia pastor akisema bwana, na hisi ni kama anajua nini inaendelea kwa maisha yangu. Like there was a time he used to say, what's the purpose of you coming here every day, and then after the service you are there at your home. Yeah, he literally did. You are literally there at your home smoking. Who do you take where to be? You cannot be at the fence. The preaching zilikuwa hivyo. So niliona for sure huyu ni Mungu aniongelesha. And you see, as I said last time, that when the Son of Man sets you free, he sets you free indeed. So that time I made that conscious decision. Nikasema that I am now going to quit. You see, I was also using other drugs like weed. I was using all the other drugs you can think about. But these two were my greatest problem, because interestingly, when I quit these two, I had no interest in the others. These were like the gateway drugs even to other drugs, and I can say they even gateway drugs even to more bad habits, because when you're drinking, when you're smoking, you're mostly smoking near who? Near the other gender. So you find that now you gain the habit of being a womanizer. It was not really new, but now because that's the environment and your drugs zimekuweka, you find you pick that habit. Something like smoking cigarettes. Kuna time itafika sigara hazihit vile unataka, so unajipata hivyo ndio umeanza banky. So on February 14th, I've never forgotten that date, I put myself, nilijiwekea hiyo challenge, na hadi nikaambia pastor, nikamwambia I'm going to come and be baptized on February 14th, because alikuwa anauliza umeingia church lakini mbona you've not been baptized in water yet. So lakini singemwambia the reason I've not been baptized, it's because it don't make sense. I have not quit something and I'm not ready to quit it. So no, I'm ready. I was not
struggling.
Yes,
to quit it.
I was not ready to open up.
Yeah.
And sometimes I regret, because maybe ninge open up, ningesaidiwa mapema. But God has a reason for everything, because immediately determined on a certain date nitaacha. I started doing things towards that goal. Like for example, already unasikia during the day, during the evenings, most of the times yuko with people who are smoking, and then I started being intentional. Nasema for example, nilikuwa na habit ya nikilala usiku najiwekea sigara moja yenye nitavuta ita katikati ya usiku ama yenye itanifungulia siku asubuhi. So nikasema I'll not be sleeping with that one. Nimetoka town, nikitoka church town, when I come nakuja kulala. So kama nikiwa itaniua katikati ya usiku, acha iniue. Okay, then when I wake up early in the morning, nilikuwa sema the very first thing I'm going to do is not to go and look for a cigarette. I'll be waking up and doing everything else other than smoking. So you see, you are training your mind that you should stay without a cigarette. If you allow me, there is a verse in the Bible which says, and I hope I'm right, it's 1 Corinthians 9:27. It's one of my favorite verses because it really helped me when I was struggling at that time with cigarettes. It says that, it's Paul who says that, I box my body every day to submission. You know, I thought about this thing, and the language which Paul uses is very strong language. He was saying that I box my body. I actually read some other versions which say that I make my body to be my slave. Some version says that I box my body into submission. This struggle with drugs is about gaining back control over your body. What I realized from 1 Corinthians 9:27 is that when Paul uses the language, I box my body every day, I realized it's a very deliberate emphasis on the daily struggle we have with our bodies. Because when I say that I quit alcohol, it's not like it was a switch. Ndio I quit, but for the next at least foreseeable time, for the next period after even I quit alcohol, I remember I had to make very deliberate choices so that I wouldn't fall. Because your body will want to go against your will.
It's so interesting you say that. There's also a place Paul says, that which I want to do, I don't do, but that which I don't want to do, I just find myself doing it. Shows it's a constant battle.
Very, very true. Actually, what you are saying is very true. Because actually, when you make such a big decision, that's when now even the devil will conspire towards you. The friends will now start wanting to buy you alcohol. When you used to be addicted, they wouldn't buy you alcohol. But now that you've said you want to quit, they're telling you, let us go, we will buy you. Okay? So it's a daily struggle. And then you find that everything that surrounds you may even remind you of alcohol. Like your landlord, when I quit, it's when I realized even my landlord, by the way, he drinks. Yeah? And it was a daily struggle. It is a struggle which, when I used to wake up in the morning, I used to tell God, Lord, today, I just want today to end without me tasting alcohol. And that's why I went until it was no longer part of my mind.
Now you've already
Now
spoken of the shift.
Now we are in cigarettes. I have decided that I'm quitting on February 14th.
Okay.
And I went reducing, and on February 14th, I remember the last cigarette I had was on February 13th. I quit a day before so that I will just, so that the next day nikienda kubatizwa, at least I know what I've gotten myself into. Because nilijiambia, if I quit on February 14th, I might be baptized and make a mockery of the baptism by smoking after. And I tell you, up to date, the last cigarette I took was on February 14th, 2019.
13. You had said 13.
Yes?
You had said 13.
No, yes. It was one day before the baptism.
Yes.
Yes. So I was actually baptized on a Valentine's Day.
Wow.
Yes. So, and it was also another daily struggle every single day, reminding myself, don't smoke, don't pass there, because people will be smoking and the smoke might come to you. And here's the thing, when God triggers change in you, he literally changes your mindset. Because if you are to come and smoke near me today, I will humbly chase you away. I'll tell you kindly, your smoke is affecting me. I now desist cigarette smoke near me. Same case with alcohol. You can't come to speak to me with a mouth smelling of, that heavy smell of alcohol.
Yeah.
I desist that right now. Right now, you can't come to my house as a visitor and you light a cigarette. I'll tell you to go out and smoke.
So you won't even be tempted?
Yes. Because my mindset changed. Now, especially alcohol, since I quit in 2018. Today, I don't even remember. You see, I'm no longer affected even with the presence of alcohol. Because one day you might go for family gatherings where one or two people might show up with alcohol. I tell you, unless you remind me that people came with alcohol, I will not even notice it. I don't know how to explain this to you. Yes. It's something which I don't even get myself. It's like there was something in me which is no longer there. It's a part of me which is no longer present.
So I'm interested to hear, you decided, you woke up one day, went to church and decided you've quit alcohol.
Yes.
But you went back home.
Yes.
And met the friends you've been hanging out with. Yes. How are you handling that? Are you still hanging out with them? Or what's happening on that side?
Now here's the thing. When you make such a decision, it's good you make that stand apparent to everyone. To the ones you used to indulge with, and even the ones who you didn't indulge with. Because of this, for the ones you used to indulge with, for them to know your stand, not to bother with you. And for these ones, I did that specifically to be accountable. Because it's like I was telling them, I'm now joining you guys. You guys who you don't drink, I'm joining you. And the ones you used to drink with, I used to tell them, for the mere purpose that they no longer consider me as their own. Now, interestingly, because I was quitting from a spiritual perspective, I did not go to the rehab to be assisted to quit. I'm quitting from a spiritual perspective, by asking God to assist me, by asking people in church to assist me in quitting, by praying and such. So, of course, even the devil tried to strike back. What I remember is that the first month, I was really mocked. They used to say, huyu tumempatia wiki mbili wacha apone utaona atarudi. I have a friend who had tried to quit previously, But he went for 6 months and then he relapsed. So I remember he said, kama mimi nilishindwa kuacha, hata huyu ataweza. Even people who have tried to quit before and failed, they mock you. But you know, the good thing is that when I used to go, because now I used to go to church almost every day. When I go to church, I used to go and share there what I have faced during the day. And you find that by then my brother used to drink. He also had his story similar to mine. So of course, his dad will tell me, you don't worry. That's what is expected. You will be mocked. In fact, don't expect the mocking to intensify. What you do, avoid the company. If they invite you, just learn to say no. You don't have to please them. We actually had an event for the youth called Learn to Say No. So when they call you, you just say no. If you have to interact with them, it has to be because it was a must to interact with them, for example, in class. But you are not going to go looking for them or being in their company. Don't lie to yourself that you can be with them and you'll not go back to them. It's a matter of time. And that's the mistake I made initially. Because when I quit alcohol and all other drugs, I still kept their company. And that's how slowly but surely I relapsed to using cigarettes.
When we were having an off-camera conversation, I remember you mentioning that this is the question you posed, that if you're still hanging out with people who are probably taking on habits that you've stopped or that you don't entertain, the question you should ask yourself is, who is mimicking who? I found that very profound.
Yes,
that when you're hanging out together, who is copying the other? Which habit is the one that's overriding the other?
And you know, interestingly, it's good that you've remembered. Interestingly, if you are, as you say, if you are with people who are with habits which you are trying to quit, the higher likelihood is that you are going to mimic them. You need really to be strong to a point where they will want to mimic you. But now I'm saying that's the mistake I did, because I remained with them and eventually I found myself mimicking them. Today, it wouldn't really affect me if I spent time with them, because now I know better. I know that if I were to spend time with them, they will actually want to be like me, because I overcame something they couldn't. Okay? But that time, I kept their company, and I had to redo it again, to quit again. Things like cigarettes. In fact, I remember that friend of mine, I'll not mention his name. That statement he made that after I relapsed on cigarettes. He said, we knew it was a matter of time. We knew that if I had, he said, kama mimi nilijaribu na nikashindwa, mbona anafikiria ataweza? And by the way, interestingly, it's one of the things which made me rethink about quitting again. Such statements should revolt you. Yes. So, one thing you make, now to answer your question on friendships and such, one thing you make, if possible, because you are very vulnerable at the point of quitting, make your position clear. Number two, if possible, and by all means, as long as it depends on you, avoid that company. Because the devil will use those who are close to you, those friends, he will use them to bring you back. There's this verse which says that when one person gets out of the kingdom of God, that a shepherd might leave all the other, yes, to go and look for that one.
Yes.
It also happens the same way in the kingdom of the devil. The devil, if he loses you, he will leave everything else to come to come for you. So that time, now you are very vulnerable, and now that's when you'll start getting new temptations. Wale wasichana ulikuwa umekatia wakakataa, ndio wanaanza kurudi. You get me?
Yeah.
The devil will make very attractive girls who are addicted to to that drug you are quitting to come towards you. So you have to be very careful. So if I can advise someone, I would advise them when they're in the process of quitting and they haven't stayed for quite some time after they have quit. If they aren't sure they have overcome, they should avoid that company. And number 3, I'll never forget this. I used to watch a lot of self-help videos.
Okay.
I say that environment trumps intention. You might have the best of intentions, but your environment will always influence you more than even your intentions.
Wow, I
Yes.
love that.
As long as you are going to a bar every day, you might have an intention of not drinking, but your intention will always override, or your environment
will override
intentions, the intentions you have. Because if you are in an environment of people who are drinking every day, you are most likely going to acquire that habit. If you are, the opposite is also true. If you are in an environment where people are speaking about salvation, they are speaking about good manners and everything, the most likely thing that will happen is that you will pick up their habits. So you should also really mind about your environment. One thing which I remember in the hostel which I used to stay, one thing I remember which I did immediately after quitting was to switch my rooms so that I could go from the rooms of my friends to another isolated room. Yes, we're still in the same hostel, but now I'm not with people who are smoking every time, they are drinking every time. You see, these are people, you can't really tell them you are judging, you can't judge them because this is a very personal journey to you. But now you don't want them to influence you again. You get me? Yeah, I used to stay upstairs actually, where there was more freedom, the balcony was there and everything. But immediately I quit, I had to get out of that room and go to another room. To a room where actually it's first years and some people who used to stay there. Wale watu wenye walikuwa naambiwa hawajacharuka. I put myself there. Yes. To change the environment.
Something else you've also mentioned is how, like, the wedding season for your brother helped you change how you're spending your time. But I believe this season ended. So now after this season, how are you now spending your time?
Oh, you see, habits are created. Okay, I saw this actually a myth, but but when you do something so much, it's most likely to become a habit. I don't want to quantify, like I said, 21 days, 17 days, but apparently if you do something for very long, it becomes a habit to the point you don't have to think about it. For example, do you think about how to tie your shoes?
No.
Or how you're going to brush your teeth?
No.
Yes. So I can say that there are some habits which you can pick very quickly and others which are really hard to pick. So I remember this time I started some habits during the day. When I was not in class, I started drawing, sketching and drawing. So I would really sketch a lot. And after that, if I'm not in class, I'm going to church. So even after the wedding of my brother, I used to find myself that now I will go to church for the service, because at least there was a service. You remember we used to go for the service, then rehearsal, then so I used to want to go for the service, and then after the service, when I get home, I will do some artwork. Yes. And you see, because I had already made drawing a habit, it was not hard now to switch it from the daytime to the evening time. And and by the way, what I used to do to make it a daily thing, I used to post on my status. And I had very many friends who were drawing, so we used to be accountable to each other. So the day I couldn't post, they would ask me, yo. Yeah. So what I did is that that time I used it to the full, like to my advantage. After the wedding, nilisema that even though I'm not going to be staying in church now up to 9, immediately after service, I'll be starting some pieces during the day, and then I'll be finishing them.
You have to complete them.
Yeah, I'll be coming to complete them in the evening.
Okay.
So it came to a point where now it's not something I have to think about, because you've done it for so long. So that's what your body has been. Basically, you've just replaced the one habit with another. You get me?
Yeah. For most people, they are able to quit, but relapse is something they really struggle with, that it happens. And even you've mentioned, like for smoking, you relapsed, then you got out of it again. What would you say are the things that helped you not relapse till now?
Oh no, after quitting the second time.
Yes, for smoking. For alcohol, I believe you did not
I've never relapsed
again.
I have never.
What are some of the things that you think helped you not relapse till now?
So now, interestingly, in one or another, when I quit the second time, because I knew better, I can say I almost lost. No, I did not lose. All the friends who we used to indulge with, we were no longer close. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I lost them. You see, when I realized you can't lose something bad. Yes, so we were no longer close.
Wow.
Yes, I did not lose them. It was a natural process. They just went. Because there's nothing, the Bible says that light and darkness cannot mix. Yes, even think about it literally. It's either a room is dark or it has light. But you cannot have a room which is partially dark and partially has light. Yes. So this time, because I was committed, even without telling them, they knew. In one or another, we just stopped talking. And then now, what happens? I got new friends now who we had the same value system. Friends who don't drink, or friends who respect your decision not to drink. They don't even know your backstory. You know, that's a different thing, eh?
Yeah.
They don't know that you actually used to drink, and they want now to bring you back. So you find people like them. And then I doubled down. My cousin calls it an overkill. I was not content with the habits which I was doing peke yake. So I added even more habits, like going to the gym. That's what I'm saying, I doubled down. I started thinking of other habits which I could do to keep me busy. Because now I've known that my problem is having too much time. So now I never allow myself to have such idle time. So I went to the gym. When I saw gym was not enough, I started running long distances. I continued drawing, but now this time I'm not drawing. There's a way to just add some more habits. Now I said, this is the good thing. When you start doing these habits, you even improve in them.
Yeah.
I've never been an artist, but the more you draw and you see the progress, now you want to challenge yourself more. Now I want to paint. And that takes your time even more.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And then I have told you, I had a totally new set of friends. People who are more focused in class. Remember I was telling you, when I used to drink, I think I was just in school because there is a semester I do just 1 unit. That unit I get a D. The next semester I do 3 units. Those 3 units I get C's. But now this time, when I stopped, when I quit, you find that I'm doing 8 to 10 units a semester, and I still want to pass them.
Yeah.
So now, interestingly, when you look at my transcript, my best grades are when I was doing those 10 units, 8 units.
Oh wow.
Because I knew my transcript ilikuwa imeharibika. Now I want a better transcript. So niko hapa napiga tu ma B. Yes. And let me say this. And there's something I want to emphasize on. Other than these habits and everything, I don't want it to look as if this is some knowledge which I gained somewhere and I used my strength. There's a reason I'm emphasizing on it was God. Because only God can make change to be permanent. Yes? You see, I can tell you it's habits. And then you will still do the habits and still there is a chance you will relapse. Yes. So me, I'm saying now, personally, me as Ian, what I think made the change to be permanent was God. It's because I involved God in the process. Maybe as we finish, there's this story of the Samaritan woman. Jesus and the Samaritan woman. This is how I look at drugs up to date. Jesus, when he went to the Samaritan woman, the part I want to focus on, I think it's in John chapter. You'll put it down there. So when Jesus was speaking with the Samaritan woman, the part I want to concentrate on, he told the Samaritan woman, if you drink this water, you will thirst again. But the water which I give you, you will not only never thirst again, in yourself, in you will become actually a spring. That's what happened. And that's why I think I've never relapsed. Because anytime that there's a void you're trying to fill, there's a thirst you're trying to quench with that cigarette. Yeah. And funny thing, I believe everyone has that void they try to fill with something. Everyone has it.
It may or may not even be drugs.
For me it was drugs. Yeah. Some people it is probably pornography. Some people, I can even tell it is those habits which I was mentioning. They try to fill that void by drawing a lot. Some people try to fill that void by overworking out. Someone, it's actually, I think there's actually a word for it, and it's called something, bigorexia. You find someone that they are addicted to the gym. Their whole life revolves around the gym. So they're trying to quench some thirst. This is what I see with everyone. Everyone, as long as you are a human being, there is a void you are trying to quench. Now, it depends with what you allow to quench. Now, unfortunately, if you quench with water, when I say water, I mean something worldly, you will never quench it. Because after I quit drugs, then, because this is wisdom I didn't have, I quit drugs and I overcame. But then I started clubbing heavily. Now I'm going to clubs, but I'm not drinking. You see what was I? That means what was I doing? Ndio, God alinisaidia niko overcome ile. But now, instead of getting the secret immediately, I started now quenching the thirst with clubbing. You get me? Yeah. And then probably when you quit clubbing, what do you get? You get maybe a girlfriend or something of the sort. You know, you'll just be from one.
Just replacing.
Yes, you are replacing them with other things. Now, for you to replace it in a way, you will never thirst again. It's only God who can do that. That I can say with confidence.
Wow. That's such a powerful story, and thank you so much even for being willing to share it.
Yes.
It will help anybody out there.
Do you think I also have a question for the interviewer.
Shoot.
Do you think you have ever tried to quench that thirst with?
Yes. Actually, as you've mentioned that it may not like necessarily be the alcohol or the smoking, then I've thought, yes, we are constantly using things. And you see, from back then, say even the Old Testament, what was the idol was literally the idols being made out of gold and all these things. But today the idol could be anything, literally anything. And I was even having a conversation with friends not so long ago, and we were even saying you could idolize your own spouse, you could idolize your kids. In that, yes, the child is a gift, but if anything were to happen to the child, it's as if you've pegged your success or your you're doing well in life as long as your child is doing well, your child has gotten a job. So now if all these things are failing, then you feel like your world is crashed. And that is because you have you've just realized that. So yeah, I totally agree. It could be anything, and we could literally feel this void in anything. And it may not be even something that's negative like the drugs. It may be something positive, but just the way you've picked it, the way you've put it at the center of your world makes it wrong.
You are actually very right. You have actually used an even stronger word, idolizing. And the last part which you have said, that you might find that thing in and of itself is even not a sin, like football, like sports, but you find someone that sports is the center of the universe. If the club they support loses, their whole world is like, it goes crumbling down. True of us? And you find that football on its own should not be something that affects someone, but there's someone who has really filled that void, and used to find that they know all players, they buy t-shirts religiously. Every year they buy the new jersey, they know how the transfer market is going, and you find that it's part of who now they are. They even dream of one day going there. It's good to be passionate about something, but think to what extent you might have
passionate about it.
Yes, because you might have made it to become your God without knowing. And you find that something which was on itself not a sin has now made you become a sinner, because now it is your idol, as you said. You have idolized it.
I totally agree. I think from now the conversation I've mentioned we were having, the conclusion we had is that life has seasons, and in all seasons there's something that can easily trigger you to focus on it. That in all seasons there will be such. For example, in our youthful season, we may be quick to focus on our work and securing the bag, and that if anything else is out of that, then it's not beneficial to us, and we are not focusing on it or paying attention to it. For example, you get married, then that becomes everything to you. You get kids, they become everything.
They replace the marriage.
Every season, there can easily be something that takes away your focus. And so the only thing that remains constant is God.
Wow.
In all seasons. That God is the only person who remains
constant.
Yes, and Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you, such that the void that we always seek to fill can only be filled by seeking God.
Yes, you've said something very profound. Actually, I've known why it's difficult to fill the void with something else, because those things will keep on changing. But the reason why when you fill it with God, you are filled permanently. It's because he's constant.
Yes, God will be constant against all the seasons.
Yes.
Wow, thank you so much. I think as we finish up, for someone who's out there, they've really struggled, it's been relapse after another, what would you tell them?
I will tell them to, first of all, if you were to relapse, the first thing you do is to acknowledge it, and the second thing that you do is to forgive yourself. See, when you say you forgive yourself, the reason why people who relapse, they end up even going worse, it's because they relapse and they say, they think it's the end of the world. Now they start, there's this mindset that, silishafuta, sasa wacha tu nivute tu kabisa. No, so the first thing you do is that, the Bible says that someone falls, a person may fall 6 times, but you have to keep on rising all the times. Let's even assume physically ukianguka, you will not stay down, you will stand up. So when you relapse, the first thing, acknowledge it. It's acknowledge that you have relapsed. The second thing, forgive yourself. The third thing, I can advise you, go and find a church, find a community with people who have probably been even through the same ordeal as you. The reason I mentioned my church, Universal Church, it's because that's what I know. That's why I got help. But I don't know about you. Pray to God then to lead you to a church, to a good church where you are going to be assisted out of it. Because it's not the end of the world. I can tell you, the strong person is actually not the person who never fails. I cannot say I'm strong in alcohol because I quit alcohol once. No, it's the one who, even when you fail, you still try again. You still try again. And at the end of the day, you will quit. This is the problem. And specifically for cigarettes, I can tell you, if you have quit, this one is for someone who has quit cigarettes, I can tell you to be very alert, because anything, something small might trigger you to go back. Research says that every person who has smoked a cigarette has contemplated quitting. And most people who quit cigarettes, they actually end up relapsing. So I can tell you, if you have quit, be strong and be alert. This is why I can tell you, you should even actually brutally cut off your friends who quit or who are smoking until a time when cigarettes no longer affect you. Till then, you're not strong enough to be around people who smoke. Because I can tell you, I don't even remember how I relapsed. Probably I just passed people who are smoking, and I missed those days when I used to smoke. Yeah. And that's why I found myself going to 1 cigarette, 2 cigarettes, and then at some point I start now the process of telling, kani nimevuta, si wacha tu nivute vizuri tu, because nimesha relapse. So and I think the reason why people who relapse, and some of them are not able now to quit again kabisa, it's because they never forgive themselves. They see as if they have damaged all the progress they had ever done.
It's like they wallow in it.
Yes. Oh, I have now gone back to cigarettes. What will people say? No. You should actually go, and if you're already in a church with a strong community, go and speak to your pastor. Mwambie, nilikuwa nimeacha. Do you know that if you are a spiritual person, you know that you will be answerable alone. Why do you care about people judging you? If there's someone who can assist you, I can tell you, even if your parent, if you have a supportive parent, go and open up to them. Tell them, I used to smoke and now want to quit. You'd rather be judged that day and be assisted than now make it part of your lifestyle all over again. And then you'll be in the situation where I was. I now have to think how I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. To anyone out there, I believe this story has inspired you in one way or another. If you've even enjoyed it, you're not struggling yourself, but you know someone who is, please take this time, share this video, like it if it's helped you, encouraged you in one way or another. And if you're the one who's struggling, please know that it's not the end of the world.
Very true.
You're not helpless. You can be helped. You can come out of it. And from Ian's story, it's just simply showed God's power and how God can completely transform that. He even detests seeing it. He doesn't even get tempted. So God is powerful. You can give him a chance to help you, and you're not helpless. Thank you so much. Till the next video. Bye.